Better late than never. How's it going? Kris Keefer here, RacerXOnline.com. I just want to apologize to everybody that's been waiting for this test. It's been a long time coming. I'm sure the 2025s are already out. But we're looking at a 2024 Beta 450 RX. This is the first time that I have ridden or even tested a Beta motocross machine. Back when I was at Dirt Rider magazine, had plenty of time on Beta's two-stroke off-road models, but this is the first time I get to tackle Beta motocross 450 machine. Of course, this is new to all of us here in the motorcycle world about Beta coming into our sport. So I'm excited to rip Glen Helen Raceway today and give you a breakdown of what this Beta feels like on the track, if it's worth the money, how it compares to other bikes in its class. So we're going to break all that down and some of the features of this RX. So I'm excited to ride it, so stay tuned. We'll be back after we spend some time at the lovely hills of Glen Helen Raceway. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. All right, wrapped up here at Glen Helen Raceway on the Beta 450 RX 2024 edition. Like I said at the top of the show, the 2025s are out. We're just now starting to get to some of our stuff that we've been lagging on in the last couple months. And honestly, quite surprised. I didn't have a lot of expectations when I ride some of these, new bikes that come out. Sometimes they look really cool, and then I ride them, I'm like, they're not as good as they look. But I will tell you this, the looks of this is unique, but it actually looks better up close than I do when I see it on the internet or on the website. So I think it looks really attractive. It's like this high-vis orangish red look with blue, and honestly, those two go together quite nicely for me, so I like the way that looks. Has a lot of quality parts on it, like Excel rims and good bars. Has a couple map switches. You have an aggressive mode and a mellow mode. You have traction control, and it's all mounted here on the bar pad. Even though I think the bar pad itself is a little chintzy. The cover flew off today. We couldn't find it, so we had to zip tie the bar pad. But nonetheless, actually quite surprised with this bike. We'll start from the top. The engine, what it's like to ride. So, been riding the Yamaha and the Kawasaki a lot lately. So if I can compare this engine to those two, I would say it's almost in between the two. It's a little bit more torque than the KX450 in stock form. Still has that smooth, linear character that the Kawasaki has, but just a little more pickup down low. So when I come around in the corner with second gear, to the touch, the throttle feels very soft, but it actually has good pickup. So recovery is quite nice in second gear. It just doesn't rev out like a Kawasaki or a Yamaha. You have to short shift this bike. So this thing doesn't like to over rev. And one thing I noticed when you have it up in the higher RPMs, this thing vibrates a lot through my feet and my hands. So that is something that the Kawasaki and the Beta do share together, that vibration is a little bit higher than I like. But nonetheless, very easy to use power. Rolling around here at Glen Helen in second and third gear is easy to use. I like the transmission spacing. Shifting from third early, the bike doesn't fall off. So I like that. I do have to use fourth gear in a lot of instances here, especially on the start straight, where the Yamaha YZ450, I can just leave it in third and it will rev out quite nice up into Talladega. So it's just a little bit of a learning curve to ride this bike, but nonetheless, it's not going to rip your arms off. Very user-friendly, has a lot of rear-wheel connectivity, so I like that. And it's just, honestly, what I like to call this engine is vanilla ice cream. It's good. It's not great. I'm going to eat it. I don't mind riding it. So for me, I think it's a nice engine and it's a blend for a wide range of riders. So I do like that. We're going to get to more complicated subjects like the chassis and the suspension. I do appreciate that Beta has brought on KYB suspension, because for me, every time I ride a KYB set of stuff, it just has more comfort. It moves in the stroke more. Out here at Glen Helen or just small chop, KYB picks up the ground a lot better for me, and it doesn't give me a lot of rigidity or, quite frankly, just no harshness. And as much as this thing vibrates or feels like it's going to be rigid, you know, rolling out in the track, I'm like, it might be a little bit rigid. But honestly, it vibrates, but there's a lot of comfort within this chassis. Yes, the suspension is soft, but honestly, there is a lot of comfort when I'm coming out of a corner, square edge, the rear end of the bike picks up a lot. It does pitch a little bit coming into corners when I'm chopping the throttle, so I would like a little bit more hold up in the front. But generally, I was expecting it to be softer than what it was, so I was pleasantly surprised with that. Now, the chassis, I love it on straight line. So straight line for me, it has a lot of straight line ability, and for me, I can cut across the track and start my corner early on the edge of tire. There is no harshness, there's no rigidity, there's no deflection. I appreciate that a lot, especially here at Glen Helen Raceway. The thing that it's hard to get used to is the bike itself just sits up high, it's tall. So when I go in the corner, I feel like I can't start my lean early, or it's harder to lean into corners. I just feel like it just sits up high. Overall, I think that's the rider cockpit and just the way the ride attitude of the Beta 450RX is out at Glen Helen. So it would take me a full day or two to actually get used to this machine cornering. Once I'm into the corner area too, I feel like I have a lot of front wheel traction, but that initial part, getting in the corner, is really hard for me to lean my bike. So once I start my lean, I lean it, and then I'm like, okay, area 2's here, I'm good. And then when I'm accelerating, the bike wants to stand up. And to me, that tells me the bike just is tall in general. So it's not the best cornering motorcycle in the 450 world, but there is a lot of stability, and I think I can make a bike corner much easier than I can make a bike stable. So I would rather have it this way than the other way. For me, a Honda CRF 450, corner's good, but it's scary for me to ride on fast tracks where I'm cutting across the track using the edges of my tires. I would much rather have a planted feel and not have the bike corner as well. So stability-wise, the Beta is really good. So overall, for me, it's a pleasant surprise. I do think I'm going to ride this a couple more days. I thought I was only going to have this one day, but I got informed that I'm going to have it for a little bit. So I'm going to spend some more time on it. There'll be some more information on my website. But just overall initial impression, easy to ride engine. Suspension's a little soft. Good stability on the bike. It needs help in the cornering department. I would put some different tires on. Maxxis, although not so bad here today, I just don't trust it enough. Area 3 of the corner, as I'm accelerating, I feel like I'm getting pushed out a little bit. So I would stick some Dunlops on there myself. I would swap the bars for something that has a little bit more anti-vibration. I'd go to a Renthal Fat Bar or a Pro Taper Evo bar, and I would put different grips on here. These stock Beta grips, I think they're Domino grips. They're just fat, don't like that. The hydraulic clutch, have no issues with it. The disc brakes, no problem, haven't really had a problem with that. I do wish they had that Brembo style adjuster on the front brake. I do miss that. It's more of like the Honda style with the Phillips screw and the 10mm nut. No big deal, but just little things like that I think I would appreciate. One negative also for me, I would like sharper foot pegs. If Simon can get a shot of this, I'm sure we can get that, but I just feel like there's not enough grip for me on the foot peg, or like the spikes a little bit sharper, so that is something. The note of the exhaust is quite nice. Very quiet, but one thing I do notice, if I'm revving it or you're up in the higher RPMs, it feels like it's rich, and the ECU setting's a little bit rich up on higher RPM, and then it just kind of like burbles, and I don't want to say cuts out, but it just feels like the rev limiter has an aggressive cutout. So if you guys can imagine on your own bike when you're up high and you're over revving, it's like that. This thing has like a sharper cutout on each of those. So it almost feels like it's going to bog, but it doesn't. It's just, it took me a little while to get used to. So that is something I think Beta can work on. I think they can tune up their ECU setting a little bit, make it a little bit, maybe a little bit leaner up on top end. But overall, very friendly bike to ride. I can't wait to ride it some more. And good job to the Beta crew for actually coming out with a first-year bike that's, I would say, if you can rank it from 1 to 10, 10 being the best bike that I've ever ridden, it's a solid 7. So for me to get those extra 3 points is very difficult, but nonetheless, that's a very good start for Beta and the guys over there in the R&D crew. So I understand what it's like to start a motorcycle from scratch and try to make it good. So for me, I would say you guys did a solid B+. So that's a great grade for me on my end, and look forward to riding this. If you have any questions about this bike, Kris at KeeferInkTesting.com. That is the virtual door that's kicked open for you guys out there to ask me questions. Don't abuse it. Don't ask me dumb questions, but you can ask me some questions, and I'll answer them back to you guys. And, of course, 12 issues, $30, Racer X magazine, lots of stuff inside the magazine that you can't read online, so that is fun. Don't forget to do that, and you get a free gift, poster, calendars, whatever. There's always something going on over there, so go subscribe. Very cool magazine, and we'll see you probably next week on another review. We got 2025s coming. It's 'tis the season already. Seems like I say it every year. Can't believe we're in June and we're talking 2025 motorcycles. So we'll see you on the next video.